Can a rookie snubbed by the 2024 NFL Draft not only make the Saints 53-man roster, but can he become an integral part of their offense? Two words, Dallin Holker. I'm Tim, and let's talk Saints. So, Dallin Holker played from BYU from 2018, or rather in the years of 2018, 2021, and 2022, because he was attending a Mormon mission for the 2 years for 2019 and 2020. And after 2022, he transferred to Colorado State in 2023, to where he really kind of started picking up some steam. He became a starter and ended up the season as a top 3 finalist for the Mackey Award, which goes to college football's top tight end. And so, as a draft prospect, great height at 6'5", but his playing weight's about 235, which is considered a little light for a tight end. He was graded out good, but not elite in his athletic ability. But two of the things that kind of stood out with him with draft analysts is his ability to make tough catches in traffic over the middle and up the seam. And he had solid blocking techniques. But the downside was his athletic limitations hindered his route running a little bit, and could cause some separation issues with more elite athletic defenders. And only at 235, despite the fact that they liked his blocking technique, just being a little light could cause some problems with defenders being able to overpower him when he was trying to block. So the expectation was 4th or 5th round pick, somewhere in there, since he was one of the better tight ends in the draft class as far as his ability. He wasn't Brock Bowers, who was really the only elite one. And he wasn't super athletic, because a lot of the tight ends drafted in front of him were those kind of freakish athletics, but nobody really knows how good their football skills actually are and how that will translate to the NFL. So instead of getting drafted, ultimately he falls out of the draft for it's just one of those things where the draft board starts changing. Different teams have different grades. Some teams not even looking at tight end. And a guy who's a pretty solid player in college suddenly finds himself not being drafted. Saints signed him as a UFA, undrafted free agent. And why this is all relevant, bringing it up, I'm sure you heard by now, but in case you haven't, Wednesday, we learned that Juwon Johnson suffered a foot injury at some point in OTAs, and it's going to require surgery, and he will miss some time, whatever that means. So this is going to create some opportunity on the 53-man roster for tight ends already in the room. And you're looking at Foster Moreau's probably on pretty solid footing, but then it's Michael Jacobson, Tommy Hudson, Dallin Hooker, and of course you have Taysom Hill taking snaps there. But just of those guys in the tight end room, and Hudson and Jacobson they've missed some practice time over OTAs. I don't think, or it sounds like anything major like Johnson's foot injury requiring surgery, but those opportunities all of a sudden started opening up for Holker to really grab some attention and turn some heads, and he's done that. His name has come up several times in reporters talking about when they're able to witness practice some of the stuff that he's been doing, and that comes up that, man, he can make some tough catches and he can get in traffic and really latch onto the ball. But they were also turning some heads because some of these guys, knowing that he had that, we don't know if he's going to be able to separate or if he's athletic enough, saying he's showing some of that in practice too. One of the things that really, though, I think is important when you're talking about Dallin Hooker is his tight end coach, Clancy Barone, kind of passed 2 statements this week that the media has caught hold of. One of the things he said was Dallin Holker should have been drafted. And the other thing he said was Clancy Barone views Dallin Hooker not as an undrafted free agent, but as an 8th round pick. Now, what does that really mean and why is it important? Well, I think the main reason why it's important is when you look at who tight end coach Clancy Barone is. He's over 20 years in the NFL as a tight end coach, and in four of his stops rather, Atlanta, San Diego, Denver, and Minnesota, he coached four All-Pro tight ends: Algie Crumpler, Antonio Gates, Julius Thomas, and Kyle Rudolph. Four really good tight ends in multiple Pro Bowls. I think all of them. The only one I'm not really sure about is Julius Thomas, but I know the other three. It was more than one All Pro year, not Pro Bowl, All Pro. And kind of wedged in between all those stops as a tight end coach, he had three stints as an offensive line coach: Atlanta, Denver, and Minnesota. Now in Minnesota, unfortunately, their OC had a tragic death, Tony Sperano, and actually um, Barone and Andrew Janako, who's our quarterback coach, split off into, they were kind of co-offensive linemen. They kind of had to split the duty that year. I think it was 2018. But in the span where he's had a offensive line um, job instead of the tight end coaching job, his teams have led the NFL in rushing four times. Once again, we're talking about in the Saints offensive staff that they just added a guy with a lot of experience who really knows his shit. So when he's going to sit there and look at, and as a tight end, not only in the passing game, because all four of those all pro tight ends, great receivers. So he knows how to coach that ability in the guys. And he was an offensive line coach that four times when he held the job, his offensive line helped the team lead the team in rushing. He knows some stuff about blocking. And he knows who Dallin Holker is. Because here's the thing, and Dennis Allen flat out said this in one of his press conferences over OTAs when talking about undrafted rookies. It's basically they have to get on the field and do something to grab the coaching staff's attention and make the coaching staff notice them. What Barone is saying is he doesn't have to do anything to grab our attention. We know who he is. We're shocked he wasn't drafted. That's basically what he's saying. We're shocked he wasn't drafted. We're not considering him an undrafted free agent. We're considering him as a draft pick, which means instead of those guys having to show him something and get their attention, Barone's telling you, no, my attention's already on him. So he's showing up here with expectations that an undrafted free agent probably wouldn't be. So he's got to live up to that, and then he's got to exceed them if he wants to find a spot on this roster. Look, and unless Jimmy Graham is going to get brought back, or they're going to dip into free agency and try to bring in, I imagine they might, but I don't know if it's going to be a big name. I don't know if it's going to, like Jimmy Graham. Who knows? But right now, Holker has an opportunity, and he's got eyes on him. There's no doubt from the coaching staff, definitely Clancy Barone, his position coach. But now he's catching media eyes when he's out there doing work. Kind of gives you the impression something's going right for him. And if he keeps, this is the part where it gets really good for him. If he can keep doing what he's been doing to turn heads and make those contested catches in traffic, and that was the expectation everybody had that coming out of college. Yeah, he'll probably be able to do that in the NFL. But now he's the thing they didn't think he could do. If he can get open, find space, get separation, especially in this offense we're converting to, now you really have a chance to turn some heads and more opportunity to grab that spot. And if Johnson isn't available by training camp, now you have because Juwon Johnson was going to be the starting tight end for all intents and purposes and likely to get most of the snaps in that position. So if he's not ready to go by training camp, there's a lot of opportunity. And not only for Hoker, but for Jacobson and Hudson too, and anybody else they're going to bring in. I think Moreau's pretty safe. He's kind of the solid veteran professional guy. But who knows? No, it's been well said many times by Dennis Allen and other members of the coaching staff. No job safe. Every job is wide open. So I'm interested to see how this plays out. He's always Holker, has always been some type of dark horse to make the roster as an undrafted guy to make the 53. In fact, a few weeks ago, Pro Football Focus did a thing. Hey, the undrafted free agent most likely to make an NFL 53-man roster for each team. The Saints pick that they went with was Dallin Holker, where they pointed out a lot of this stuff we're talking about, and also made the point we don't understand how this guy didn't get drafted, other than the fact that sometimes when you're just not that elite, eye-popping athlete, sometimes you get buried in the order. Things happen, you start falling, and then you wind up having to sign as an undrafted free agent. And I think he's found himself a good position because one of the main guys that's going to be evaluating him come training camp, and with a lot of say so on whether he can make the 53-man roster or not, flat out told us kid should have been drafted. And we don't look at him as an undrafted free agent. We look at him as our 8th round pick. Now, I don't know how this is all going to play out. And I think no matter, even if he continues working out as that kind of contested catch the ball in traffic guy, especially over the middle in the seam, which is where tight ends really need to do a lot of their work, and can get separation and open, and maybe there is more athletic ability there than they thought. Who knows? All important stuff. But I think his biggest challenge is if he still has some size related issues, like if he can't get a little bigger, a little stronger, that could be an issue for him. But if you can catch the ball, if you catch the ball, contest it against a defender, if you can get open, get in space in this offense, the blocking and size issue may not be a huge, huge issue at all. But that may be the one thing that kind of could hinder a little bit on the 53 is when you're trying to be a run heavy, run first offense. Yeah, you need guys that can get downfield and block. So right now, I'm best guess, and this is a total guess, but I'm kind of going to give him the odds 60-40 that he can make the 53 man. So let me know what you think. If you think he's got Dallin Holker has a better than not chance of making the 53-man roster, just kind of based on the buzz from OTAs, the head turning, the talking about him, and the fact that there's I don't want to call it a significant injury, but as the Saints said, he's going to miss time to Juwon Johnson. That can conceivably open up a lot more chances come training camp for Dallin Holker to really try to latch onto the spot. So if you think it's 51% or above, hit the thumbs up and let me know. And as always, if you got any thoughts on the subject, pop them down in the comments. Said it before, say it again, and I'll keep saying it. I really enjoy your comments. I look forward to seeing what you guys got. So the bad news is the Juwon Johnson foot injury with surgery. Hopefully it won't be the start of yet some other injury issue that always seems to hit the Saints. And hopefully we're done with all that. So, like, wish Juwan well wishes. Hopefully it heals up right. Hopefully he makes training camp. But all we know is he's going to miss time. So that's all I got today. We'll keep coming up with some OTA stuff. And of course, we've still got to finish our defensive roster, Scott and I. We should be back with that on Monday for YouTube. So be on the lookout for that. And until next time, peace out. Who dat?